What is happening, sports fans? It's your main man, Matt, from the DFS 5 pack, rocking it solo Sunday, June 20th. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. I know Ryan had a late night last night. He was bartending, and I'm sure was enjoying the Bucks win in overtime over the Nets. So we're going to let him rest up this morning. So you got me solo for MLB. I'm excited to talk this slate over with you guys. I really like it. Typical Sunday slate, about 9 games this morning. Doesn't look like there's any weather concerns. Miami and the Cubs is one that you might want to pay attention to, but other than that, looks like we're pretty good all over. Note that the game one of the Cardinals-Braves game is a doubleheader, only 7 innings. So, keep that in the back of your mind if you want to play guys from that game. That said, let's dive in. Another slate without a lot of great pitching options. And when I say not a lot, I mean hardly any. All right, we should be good there. Starting at the top, I'm not interested in Manaea. I feel like he's got a bad start coming. I've watched him a bunch recently. He's been able to get by, but he's throwing a ton of pitches, which obviously you like that from your starter. But usually Manaea is a guy that's, as you can see, just hitting 100, usually in the mid-90s. He's thrown over 103 straight starts. Not going to be surprised if that catches up with him today. The Yankees, big win for them last night, got going late. I actually think the Yankees could get to him here. I know that for our members and for guys who watch me regularly, I have a soft spot in my heart for the Yankees, and it's probably to my detriment. But we know the power these guys have. I cannot get that start out of Boston out of my head for Manaea and another AL East team today. Let's just say that I personally am not interested in Manaea. I'm more interested in the Yankees bats. That said, he's the most expensive pitcher for a reason. So if you just hate all the other options and want to roll with him, do your thing. Minor's going to be a no. He's just too expensive. Not that I'm want to go out of my way to pick on him, but not really trying to use him at 9,500. I think Taijuan Walker gets some love here, and I get it. 30 plus in each of the past 2. He's been rock solid all year. Check the game log. Check his numbers. He's been very, very good, all-star like for the Mets, and I think he makes sense here. I don't really feel like wanting to spend 9,400 on him, but again, the other options are not good. I don't hate it at all. Adam Wainwright, having a solid year. Not nearly as nice as Taijuan Walker, but solid in his own right. Tough spot in Atlanta against the Braves. Like him in day games. Don't really like him on the road. He's so much better at home. I can't use Wainwright here on the road. Ryu's interesting. He has not been good. He has not been good lately. Tough spots though. Against Houston, the White Sox, and then the Yankees. Couple spots before that, he put up close to 20 against Cleveland and Tampa. I don't love Ryu here, but he's on the short list, mainly because the other options just don't do much for me. McCullers threw 77 pitches last time out. I think there's too much risk here, and it's not like the White Sox are a matchup I'm going out of my way to pick on. So I don't think McCullers is for me. I'm not a huge McCullers guy anyways. Eovaldi, nah, I don't really want to pick on Kansas City. I don't hate it. Again, a lot of these guys, just by default, are going to be in play because you have to play 2 pitchers. That's all it is. JT Brubaker, I can get on board with Brubaker here. I'm not a huge fan of his and don't think that, how he pitched at the beginning of the year is necessarily going to continue all year. Clearly, he's come back down to earth, but he's in a good spot against a Cleveland team missing their DH. Their lineup just came out. No Jose Ramirez. 7,400, I think you could do a lot worse. He's on the short list, if nothing else. Skipped over Corbin. He's coming off a really nice start. I don't hate Corbin. I'm not, again, another guy, I'm not buying what he was selling last time out. This is who he's going to be going forward. Probably just was in the groove against a pretty mediocre Pittsburgh team. That said, he's 7,600, and it's not like the Mets are world beaters, so don't mind it at all. Dane Dunning, definitely in play for me. Again, I like the other pitcher in this game more. We'll get to him. Probably the lock of all locks on a slate like this. But Dunning himself, Minnesota doesn't scare me. He's got good stuff. Doesn't have the longest pitch count in the world, so might make me lean towards a guy like Brubaker. But nothing wrong with Dunning whatsoever, if that's who you like. Jordan Montgomery, nah. Oakland has too many, good right-handed bats for me to want to get to Montgomery here. Alec Mills, only 57 pitches. Pretty sure he threw a no-hitter last year. So, yeah, not that we're using him here because of that, but just that he did. Bryce Wilson's actually been decent his past 2 starts. That's not for me. I just don't think he's that good. I could actually see St. Louis getting him a little bit here. If this were a 9-inning game, I'd have more interest in the Cards. Dallas Keuchel, no, not against Houston. Going back to his old stomping grounds, he has been really good. He's better than a $6,800 pitcher. But man, talk about tough spots. He's liable to get blown up here. Not that I want to use Houston bats against him. If this were any other spot on this slate, I think he'd be wildly in play, and I hardly ever use Keuchel. But against Houston, just really hard to go there. Kenta Maeda threw 76 pitches last time out. 6,300 for Maeda here. He's just way too cheap. I mean, I imagine he's going to be the most popular pitcher on the slate. Makes a ton of sense. For those who want to get weird and who don't like Maeda, look at some Texas bats. Look at some Texas bats in tournaments. I have a feeling, though, like everyone who doesn't play Maeda is going to want to do that just because they think the leverage is real. And it is real. I mean, Maeda is going to be big-time chalk here. At least he should be. For me, though, like I don't really like 2 other pitchers on the slate. So Maeda just seems like a lock. I like a couple expensive offenses. So that's pretty much where I'm going to land. And then, a couple other guys in play with him. Just to run through it again. I think Walker's in play, Ryu's in play, Corbin's in play, kind of much more in GPPs. Brubaker's in play, Dunning, Maeda, a couple other guys, Keuchel and Bryce Wilson I don't hate, but I think Ryu could pitch well today. I don't trust it, and Baltimore has not been awful recently, but Ryu's definitely a guy I'm looking at. Again, all those guys I just mentioned are on my short list, and probably will be who's listed in the write-up. All right, offensively, let me check one thing out, guys. Give me 1 second. Perfect. All righty, so as far as offense goes, I mean, there's one spot that just stands out. It's going to get a ton of love. Obviously, Toronto against Matt Harvey. It's hard to get away from them here. Obviously, as a GPP player, there's other spots I certainly like that I will have no problem going to. But know that Toronto is in a Coors-like spot today against Matt Harvey in a great hitter's ballpark. So fade them at your own risk. You don't have to completely fade them. If you want to mix in some of their guys, do your thing. They're in play in all formats, but high priorities in cash games. All the Toronto guys, and we'll get there. Cleveland and Pittsburgh, Brubaker against Hentges. Hentges is nothing great at all. Pittsburgh's nothing great at all. Probably just a stay-away spot. I don't hate a couple Pittsburgh bats if you're feeling that. They're cheap. Brian Hayes isn't cheap, but he's good. Brian Reynolds is very cheap, and he's good. I mean, check the game log. He's 6 hits in his last 12 at-bats, 3 extra base hits. He's seeing the ball really well right now and gets a good matchup today. Polanco's not awful either. Yeah, I don't think Pittsburgh's like the worst look here. You're not excited about these guys, but, I mean, they're cheap. Probably have a Colin Moran, 2,400. I mean, you could do a lot worse. I wish there were expensive pitchers to spend up on. Since there's not, I probably won't get any Pittsburgh here. Cleveland, no. I mean, no Jose Ramirez. If you want to look at like a Bobby Bradley, Ahmed Rosario, Eddie Rosario, sure, but not where I want to land today personally. Mets and Nats. I think you can make the case for some Mets here. Again, probably not where I land. Lindor monster game, game 1 yesterday. I mean, he's a fine play at 4,600, but I'm not really trying to go out of my way to pick on Corbin with a mediocre Mets lineup. I think they're fine as pieces, but probably not where I land. And then as far as the Nats go, I don't love Walker, but I'm not really trying to pick on him, especially with how he's been pitching. Jays and O's. So we get to the spot, the most coveted spot on the slate. Jays against Matt Harvey. They're going to be chalk, and they're probably the best plays on paper of the entire slate. Simeon, Bichette, Vlad hitting 1, 2, 3. They came back from like a a multi-run deficit going into the 8th inning yesterday and unloaded on the Baltimore bullpen. Vlad with another monster game. I mean, these guys are the best plays on paper on the slate, all of them. So, Biggio, Grichuk. I know Jared Hoying made the lineup yesterday. He didn't do anything, but at least he has a cheap piece. So with Gurriel out, he might make it again. They're just in play all over. Watch for one of these guys to get a day off. Been playing a bunch recently. Wouldn't be shocked to see one of their big boppers get a day off. However, more than likely, if they want to give Vlad the day, they'll just DH him and move Tellez to first. So just wait and see on their lineup. All righty. Yankees and A's. So as far as the A's go, I don't really want to stack against Montgomery, but I can definitely get on board with a couple pieces, namely Laureano. Really, really affordable. I mean, he's good. He's got power, speed, upside. We've seen Laureano like upper 5K range, so he works in all formats as one of the better one-offs on the slate in my mind. And then the other guy from Oakland I like is Matt Chapman. So I've talked about him a bunch recently. Really is starting to turn his season around, making up for lost time. Just check the game out. This guy was littered with zeros throughout the majority of the beginning of the season. He doesn't have a zero in like 8 games. Just playing really good ball right now, and always crushes left-handed pitching. But for me, this game is about the Yankees. So this is going to sound weird, and this is just baseball. Minaya, I respect more than Montgomery. I think he's a better pitcher. I also think he's just as prone to get hit. I'll reverse track there and say that Montgomery is probably more prone to getting hit, but no one's going to be on the Yankees today. And we've seen Minaya get blown up earlier in this year in a similar spot on the road against an AL East team. So this is more of a gut call than anything. I've watched a bunch of his starts recently, like I mentioned. He was amazing in that Seattle start. I used him that day. Then coming back, I like some Arizona bats against him, and Arizona was just awful. Minaya threw 50-plus pitches in the first 2 innings. Arizona had plenty of chances to destroy him early. Just couldn't do it. It happens. Minaya, I respect him, got out of those jams, and he did his thing. Next start against the Angels, he was good, not great. Definitely showed some signs of regression that I think could carry over into today. And against the Yankees team that quite frankly, got going yesterday and won't get any love at their price tags considering how they've played this year, I'm willing to go back here. You got the obvious guys, Judge, Stanton, Andujar, Frazier, depending on who makes the lineup, Torres, Sanchez. This is all about the stack for me, not trying to one-off. And I respect Minaya. Like I said, he's a better pitcher than Montgomery. But today, I think he gets hit, and I think Montgomery just pitches okay. So couple Oakland bats for me, Yankee stack. White Sox and Astros. So Keuchel versus McCullers. I mean, a lot of that on this slate where you're not excited about the pitcher in either spot. The offenses are fine. I mean, they're good offenses. I don't love stacking against Keuchel, but they're probably more in play than he is. Gurriel's very affordable. Correa, Altuve. These guys are more like one-offs for me instead of wanting to stack against Keuchel. That's how I personally feel about it. And then the White Sox, I've seen McCullers get hit before. Jose Abreu at 4,300, Tim Anderson at 4K. I mean, these guys are cheap. So it's just price plays. Again, this is another one. I wish there were expensive pitchers to spend up on because I'd be interested if there were. I don't think it's crazy without. I mean, like I said, I'm wanting to stack the Yankees. They don't really have a first baseman I want to use. So Jose Abreu fits well. Boston and the Royals. Another game with pitchers I don't really want to use, offenses I don't really want to use against them. Obviously, I think Boston is in play here. JD Martinez went big fly yesterday, facing a lefty, always in play, very affordable. I don't know how much love Boston gets either because, you got Toronto right there. So just keep that in mind. Prefer a lot of these guys against left-handed pitching. Kike Hernandez, Xander Bogaerts. Devers, we don't, but I think that'll just cut into his ownership. Boston's another one of these teams. More in play for me as a whole stack. My favorite one-off would be JD for sure. All righty. So next up, we have the Cardinals and Braves. Note this is a 7-inning game. So especially for the Braves side, like if you think they're going to win this game, they're only going to get 6 at bats. So just keep that in mind. Doesn't mean they're out of play. Wainwright's gotten hit on the road, but he's also not a guy like I'm trying to go out of my way to pick on in a 7-inning game. Personally, that's just how I feel about it. St. Louis is not as good as Atlanta. They're another one of these teams I seem to have a soft spot for. They've done me well in the past. Um, they are crazy cheap today. So, like I mentioned with Chicago, I don't mind a couple of these guys. Arenado's the only one priced decently at 4,700, but comparison's sake, that's pretty damn cheap. Let's look at the third baseman today, see where he falls. Yeah, I mean, he's priced. Yeah, I mean, Arenado's the only one that's priced, you know, where he should be, I guess. Edmund leading off at 3,900, Carlson and O'Neill at 31 and 2,500. I mean, these guys are hitting towards the top of the lineup. Let's see where O'Neill's hitting today. Yeah, O'Neill's hitting 5th. I mean, again, hard to want to like go sell your soul on these guys, but mini stacks, one-offs, I'm about it. Like, I don't think Bryce Wilson is anything I'm scared of at all. I know he's not anything I'm scared of. Listen, he's fine, but I also feel like St. Louis is a big game coming. Again, risky 7-inning game. They will be unowned though, and their prices just work. So interested if nothing else. Miami and the Cubs. Some weather concerns here, as I mentioned. Thompson was good last time out. I could see the Cubs getting to him here, but I don't know. I actually think Jack Peterson will be off today, kind of at a mental gas where he didn't run out a pop up, ended up being caught, but if it wasn't, it would have been a really bad look. Not going to be surprised to see him out of the lineup. Who knows? He might be back in there. Thompson was very good at home against the Braves, but different beast from today, in Wrigley Field with the crowd, all over him against the Chicago team, hot weather. The Cubs are more in play than Thompson is for me. I'm not going to game log chase that at all. I probably don't get to the Cubs, to be quite honest, but they're in play as a stack if you like them here. And then as far as the Marlins go, Marlins have been good the past couple of days. I mean, hard not to talk about Adam Duvall right now. Pretty nice 2-game stretch. He crushes righties. If you want to go with Duvall, if you want to go with a couple of these guys, the thing about Miami that was really encouraging yesterday, they ran a ton. Marte stole 2 bags. Jazz stole at least one. Jazz stole a bag. Alfaro stole a bag. I mean, they were running like crazy, and I expect them to do the same thing today. So very affordable. Watch for a weird lineup from them, but Miami's in play all over today. And then last but not least, we got the Twins and the Rangers. Maeda versus Dunning. I gotta sneeze. Give me 1 second, guys. Oh, one away. All righty, so Dunning versus Maeda. Definitely another one of these games. I'm looking more at the pitching. I mentioned if you want to get some leverage and use some Texas, I get it. Not where I want to go. Minnesota would be more in play for me than Texas, I think. Arias leading off at 3K. Sure. I see no reason why not. And again, another one, though, like, just wish we had better pitchers to spend up on because you don't really need this. Kind of lineup here. Tons of outfielders. Yeah, Buxton's back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 only outfielders. So they're a very hard team to stack because of that. I mean, you're just going to have to, if you want to stack them, probably get exposure to a bunch of these guys and just stack them up a bunch of different ways and hope Dunning is off and you get to the Texas bullpen. All right, guys, wanted to be short and sweet today. Pitching options are pretty weak. And what's weird is we don't have many crush hitting spots because it's not that the pitchers are all gas cans. They're just not in spots you really want to use them in, but the hitters aren't really in spots you want to use either. So an interesting slate in that regard. Again, I think there's a lot of ways to break this down. Always plenty of different ways to skin the cat. Excited to get after it. Happy Father's Day. If you want more videos, more content, more me, more Ryan, more any of that stuff, go check out the DFS5pack.com today. We're crushing it. Excited for baseball to continue, the NBA playoffs. Congrats to Ryan and his Bucks on a big win last night by Milwaukee, and Clippers futures are still alive. So let's go, baby. Let's crush it today. Thanks, guys.